We kick off Friday Night SmackDown in style as the megastar LA Knight will begin the show with a clash with the one and only Ricochet in a heated contest. Ricochet gets the matchup going with a Northern Light suplex bridge into a brainbuster on Knight. Knight throws a boot, but Ricochet maneuvers out of the corner with a big DDT. LA Knight starts firing up and he drops Ricochet on his head with Crunchy for a 2 count, which Ricochet then counters with an enziguri soon after. Ricochet continues the fight for a little bit until Knight is able to fix it up with a suplex neckbreaker. Ricochet rolls to the floor, but look who's on the outside. Paul Heyman with a chair in hand looks to wrap it across Ricochet's face, but Ricochet gives him a handspring to knock him off of his game. This causes LA Knight to move out of the way of Ricochet's springboard clothesline, and then when Ricochet gets back up to his feet, Knight drops the blunt force trauma on Ricochet and he picks up the W. United States Champion Bronson Reed and Adam Pearce are discussing the potential challengers that could be challenging Reed for the title at WWE Backlash. As the qualifying matches for the #1 contender spot are starting to fill up, Gunther and Wes Lee are the 2 men already qualified, and our 3rd match will be taking place here tonight as well. Jacy Jayne makes her way to the ring and she's looking to exact some vengeance on the MMA expert Shayna Baszler after her blatant attack on Jacy Jayne last week after a match with Damage Control. Shayna is able to overwhelm Jacy with the fiery offense and they are going, even mounting on top of Jacy with some unprotected elbows. Jayne fights off a gut-wrench suplex from Baszler and tries to roll her up for the victory to no avail. Shayna then drops Jacy with a back suplex backbreaker and then a huge powerbomb. Shayna has had enough and locks in the Kirifuda clutch on Jayne for the tap-out victory. As Shayna celebrates in the ring, Emma, who teamed up with Jacy last week, looks to get one up on Baszler with a sneak attack. But this doesn't work and Shayna makes quick work of her rival the last couple of weeks. Shayna grabs both of Emma's arms and just gives her a knee directly in the mush. Shayna gets rid of Emma from the ring and continues to celebrate her victory as if nothing happened. The WWE Champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley, is at the airport awaiting to arrive next week in Germany for SmackDown, and he was asked by one of our backstage crew members who was able to catch Lashley before he departed, asking his thoughts on the match between him and the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, which will take place at Backlash. Lashley says that me and Cody are similar in a lot of ways. We left WWE and we came back even bigger stars than before, like I mentioned last week. It's a simple principle that I'm the WWE Champion, and a champion always needs a challenger. And that word is not what I would describe Cody as. Cody is not even a fly on my wall. He is no challenge. If anything, he's my next victim. I beat Roman Reigns for this championship. There's a reason why Roman isn't asking me for a rematch right now. Bobby Lashley then warns that Cody Rhodes is in dire danger when they get off the plane in Puerto Rico, and he ensures that he will walk out of Backlash still WWE Champion. Back to the ring, and we have our final United States Championship #1 contenders qualifying match, and it will be him, also known as Carmelo Hayes, and he will be taking on the Latino World Order's Santos Escobar. Carmelo and Santos mix it up for a little bit until Carmelo flies off the springboard with a clothesline. Carmelo tosses a dropkick away, and then Escobar dodges a super kick, but Hayes shuts him down with a Spanish fly. Carmelo drops Santos on his head on the apron with a springboard DDT. Santos Escobar props Hayes on his shoulders with a fireman's carry and then runs full force into the LED barricade. They get back into the ring and Santos drops Hayes with a huge spinebuster. Santos catches a crossbody attempt from Hayes and with amazing athleticism pops Melo up with a huge sit-out powerbomb, but Hayes gets under the rope. Carmelo out of the corner with Santos propped up on the rope hits a little bit of a fadeaway, but Escobar gets the shoulder up the two. Santos has Hayes on the top rope, then gets him into another fireman's carry, but this time he drops him with a gutbuster onto the top turnbuckle. Santos climbs to the top rope and he hits a diving splash, but Hayes is able to kick out at 2. Santos looks to drop Melo with another powerbomb, but Hayes fights him off, and after he catches a super kick by Escobar, he drops Santos with a powerbomb, and then climbs up to the top rope and he sees nothing but net as he connects it on Escobar, and Melo is able to best Santos tonight for the last spot and a chance to compete for the United States Championship. Joe Gacy is backstage with Icarus, who is told to stay back tonight, as the Dyad will be in action and Gacy wants to ensure that both Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed can more than hold their own against such star power in their opponents. The American Nightmare, the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes, and Mr. Hustle Loyalty Respect, John Cena, will be teaming up against the Schism. Cody Rhodes and Jagger Reed will start off our main event, as Rhodes starts firing away in the early going. They give Reed some knees and hit a double suplex. Reed is able to counter, and as Cena goes crashing into the corner, this allows the Dyad to take control. Fowler gets the tag and then slams Cena into the turnbuckle and starts firing away on his ribs with the kicks. And then Cena is able to overpower Rip with the punches. John Cena with the tag and a double clothesline later, and then Rhodes slams Rip with a suplex and Fowler rolls to the outside. Reed notices that Rhodes looks to fly, but he shuts Cody down. Cena runs into the ring with a crossbody onto Jagger. Cody Rhodes looks to go flying, but nobody's home and he crashes down to the floor, and then when he gets back into the ring, he eats a lariat from Rip Fowler. Cody attempts the Cody Cutter, but Reed is too quick on the draw and he gives a double team on Rhodes with a double hip toss. John takes advantage when Cody rolls to the outside and he gives Rip Fowler a huge suplex to the floor, and soon after, Jagger with a baseball slide to Cody. When the match stops breaking down, Cody gets back in the ring and he gets a Cody Cutter on Fowler, but Jagger is able to break up the pinfall. Fowler is back in the game and he gives Cody a spinning brainbuster and taunts to the crowd. Jagger gets a blind tag on Fowler, and as Cena throws a clothesline, Jagger re-drops John Cena with a tombstone facebuster. But John Cena is able to kick out at 2. Cody Rhodes goes flying off the apron with a clothesline on Fowler, and then this leads to John Cena taking advantage in the ring to hit an attitude adjustment on Jagger Reed. Cody Rhodes sees an opportunity and drops Fowler with a crossroads on the floor. John Cena gets the pin on Jagger Reed, and the American Dream Team have picked up the win to close off this episode of SmackDown. We flip it over to our Monday night show, and already in the ring is Riddick Moss, who is set to go one-on-one with the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, Kevin Owens. The bell rings and Riddick Moss tries to get the first shot, but KO is not happy and he snaps Moss with a suplex and starts stomping on his chest. Kevin Owens plants Riddick with a big jackknife powerbomb and then lifts Moss up and drops Moss with a pop-up powerbomb for the win. Kevin immediately gets out of the ring after his win and he goes back to find Seth Rollins. Chad Gable is at WWE headquarters and Gable asks that he needs some redemption against the gold standard Shelton Benjamin after he brutally attacked Gable for no reason at all last week. The answer would be met by the man who has taken up management duties for both Raw and SmackDown, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. Angle says that he knows Shelton Benjamin better than anyone, and Chad agrees, as both men have teamed with Shelton in the past, and Angle gives in and gives Chad the match against Benjamin, but it will have to be at Backlash. We have some tag team action up next, as we are still figuring out who will be competing in the 6-woman elimination match for the vacant Women's World Championship at Backlash, and as we have half of our competitors already qualified, with the names being Rhea Ripley, Zoe Stark, and Gigi Dolan are the 3 that have already earned it, and now it will be the teams of Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan taking on Michin, Mia Yim, and Aliyah, and the winners will take up spot number 4 and 5 for that aforementioned matchup for the world title. Michin with the offensive kicks in the beginning and then lifting Roxy up for the Saito suplex. Aliyah with some forearms to try and knock Roxanne off of her game, but Roxanne isn't quitting. Tag to Liv Morgan from Roxy, and then they toss Aliyah away with a double back body drop, and then Liv runs off the ropes with a Shining Wizard. Mia Yim soon tags back in, but then Roxanne drops her with a big backstabber, and as she gets back up to her feet, Roxanne drops her face first with an in-plane DDT, which Aliyah soon breaks up. Aliyah throws Roxy with a Northern Lights suplex, and then Liv gets into the ring with a mitt kick on Aliyah. Morgan tosses Michin back into the ring and climbs onto the apron. Roxanne then spots her opportunity and takes a hit of Pop Rocks on Michin to win the match for her team. Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez will now go to Backlash and challenge for the Women's World Championship with one more spot left to fill. We get some footage from the Performance Center, which we see head student trainer Drew Gulak is training with the man we saw earlier today, Chad Gable, just getting in a normal wrestling lesson. And as you can see, Shelton Benjamin would arrive to try and start some hot water with Gable, and that was what led to Gable going to Angle as we saw earlier. We have some more championship opportunities on our way, as we saw last week that Intercontinental Champion Drew McIntyre would stop an attack on main event Jey Uso from the Judgment Day. Drew would then make the match between Jey Uso and Finn Balor that we are getting tonight, but the winner will go on to Backlash in Puerto Rico to challenge Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. Finn Balor and Jey Uso lock up in the beginning, but so far it's pretty evenly matched. Finn shuts Jey down with a snapmare and a dropkick to the head. Finn Balor with a double boot stomp on the sternum and then a running dropkick while Jey is sitting down. Finn soon hits a sling blade on Uso and decides to give him some more brain damage with a dropkick to the head. Jey Uso with the clothesline to Finn on the outside, and it's about time to go Uso crazy as he flies over the top rope and clears out Balor. Main event Jey Uso soon after flies off the apron and gives Finn an elbow to his face. Finn starts lighting Jey up with some chops and moves him into the corner, and then Finn looks to hit a superplex. But Jey uses his strength and Balor lands face first off the top rope. Jey has his window and looks for an Uso splash, but Balor moves out of the way. Finn gets in Jey Uso's face and then drops Jey with a Bloody Sunday, but that isn't the end, as Uso kicks out before 3. Jey is determined to keep going and he hits Balor with a Destroyer, but once again this match is not over. Jey looks to end this and he lifts Balor up and then gives him another super kick to the gut, and then he finishes Finn off with a super kick to the face. Finn Balor is absolutely knocked out at this point. Jey is ready to go and he nails the Uso splash on Finn Balor and he's able to get the upset victory, and now we will be seeing Jey Uso challenge Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. Backstage, we see that Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are laying into each other in the parking lot as Kevin finally found the world champion. Seth tosses KO into a car, and then Kevin looks to cripple the world champion as he goes up for a powerbomb, but Seth is able to stop him. Seth tosses KO onto the hood of the car, and then Seth has had enough and he slams the car hood onto Kevin's fingers. Seth has Kevin in trouble and he tosses him right through the windshield. And Seth is about to stomp Kevin's head into the concrete, but the broadcast is cut and we come back to Kevin with a bloody face and Seth walking away. It's even more personal now before their big match. Main event time, and the Street Profits were able to defeat the Creed Brothers 2 weeks ago on Raw, and they earned their right to face the OC at Backlash for the World Tag Team Championships. This match will be between the charismatic and way too athletic Montez Ford, and he will not be taking on either of the Tag Team Champions, but the other member of the OC, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. We kick this off and Montez is absolutely fired up, and the crowd are just as excited, but AJ isn't playing around and he drops Montez with a suplex neckbreaker. Montez with a leg trap back suplex, and then Styles has to roll to the outside. But then Ford goes flying with a Superman tope con hilo. The OC are certainly not happy and start to look concerned. Angelo Dawkins is as cool as a winter breeze though. Montez with the strikes, but AJ recovers and nails a forearm on Ford out of the corner. AJ continues the fight with his signature facebuster, but Ford is too close to the ropes to count. AJ with Ford up on the top rope, and Styles takes Ford on a ride with a back superplex. AJ gets out on the apron and then he nails the Superman 450 splash on Montez Ford, and Ford is actually able to get the kick out at 2. Montez Ford starts feeding up and he hits a front dropkick to a kneeling Styles, and Ford looks to end it with a running blockbuster, but Styles gets the shoulder up. AJ with a counter after rolling to the apron, and he tries for the phenomenal forearm, but Ford then drops AJ with a back suplex. Ford looks to drop in from the heavens, but AJ maneuvers and then he pulls Ford to his feet and then drops him with a burning hammer. And this match continues on, and these two are absolutely going to war. AJ Styles rolls Montez Ford into the calf crusher, but Montez isn't fucking around and he spikes AJ on his head with the DDT. AJ looks for a Styles clash, but Ford gets some right hands on AJ and then nails AJ with a rock bottom. Montez looks to end the matchup, but AJ is still moving. This allows Ford to hit a blockbuster from the top, and now that AJ isn't moving, Montez flies in from the heavens and hits the frog splash on AJ Styles, and then he picks up a huge victory over the OC. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins have an even more advantage with a victory over the phenomenal one to close this episode of Raw. We're heading over to the Performance Center for the third brand of NXT, and we open with a debut as Baron Corbin, who makes his way to the ring to kick us off, will be taking on Odyssey Jones, who is having his first match since his return. We saw these two on the first episode have a war of words in the backstage area, but sadly this matchup will not be for the North American Championship like Baron Corbin had hoped for after his loss to current champion Pete Dunne 2 weeks ago. Odyssey dodges a clothesline from Corbin, and then he runs in and takes out the leg with a chop block. Odyssey uses that amazing strength and gives Corbin a back suplex into a backbreaker. Baron Corbin starts firing away on the back and face of Jones, who is not giving up. Corbin counters a spinebuster attempt, and then Corbin takes the Odyssey by the throat and then drops him with an STO. Corbin is set up in the corner and he gets an elbow up. Soon after, he catches Jones with the deep 6 off the rebound, but it's only a 2 count. Odyssey with the military press and then slams Corbin down to the mat. Odyssey climbs to the second rope and hits a shoulder tackle on Corbin. Odyssey with a big power slam on Baron, and then he climbs to the second rope with a frog splash. Baron is able to get a shot on Jones right between the eyes, and Corbin is able to catch the big man off guard and hit the end of days, and then Corbin, to everyone's dismay, picks up the win. Grayson Waller has been staying at his home in Australia, and I'm just going to let you watch this footage. Yeah, I have no idea what Dexter Lumis wants with Grayson Waller, but as we get back to the ringside area, Tyler Bate will be stepping into the ring with Unbesiegbar Ilja Dragunov. Ilja with the heated offense to kick us off with the clothesline. Tyler Bate with a boom and a bop and a bang when I come and a romp and a spit and a shine, and then he stops Ilja in his tracks with a release exploder, and then a kip up for good measure. This allows Ilja to hit an enziguri, and then soon after he gives Bate a deadlift German. Ilja and Tyler continue the fight on the floor, Bate with a dropkick, and then Dragunov catches Bate and drops him with a standing side effect. Bate with a shot to the face in the ring, but Ilja continues the fight and he searches for Gruzaos Moscow, but Bate quickly counters it into a neckbreaker. As Ilja stumbles back to his feet, Bate runs off the ropes and hits a rolling wheel kick on Dragunov, but he kicks out at 2. Torpedo Moscow incoming, but Bate sidesteps and gets Ilja on the top rope, and then just tosses him away off the top with a back body drop, and now both men are down. Ilja is writhing in pain, and the referee is checking on his condition, but on the outside, out of the ref's vision, JD McDonough runs out of the crowd and gives Bate a dropkick, and then we really see what the devil inside is on Bate on the floor. Bate that is then thrown back into the ring, and Ilja runs to the ropes and nails Bate with a huge lariat. Ilja soon picks up the win after he hits the Torpedo Moscow on Bate. Andre Chase and Duke Hudson of Chase U are getting a nice gym session in after their huge victory over Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander for the NXT Tag Team Championships last week. Duke starts to show some concern over the usefulness of both him and Chase for the team, but Chase ensures that both he and Duke are okay, and no one is taking those titles away from the school trophy case in Mr. Chase's classroom. Last week, we saw the NXT champion Braun Breaker in the main event against Veer Mahaan, and now he is back, but it will be a tag team matchup. NXT champion Braun Breaker teams up with his opponent for NXT Battleground, Mr. Wrestling Johnny Gargano, against Jinder Mahal's team of the absolute behemoths of Veer and Sangha of the team Indus Sher. And Sangha pancakes Johnny in the beginning. Sangha gets a neckbreaker counter from Gargano, who clears out to the apron and slingshots himself into Sangha for a spear, and then Breaker soon gets into the match with a shoulder tackle. Big tag from Sangha, and then him and Veer start firing away on Breaker on the top turnbuckle with some strikes. Gargano with some decent striking on Veer, and then he lays out Veer with a big discus clothesline. Breaker dumps Sangha out of the ring with an Irish whip, and then Gargano runs out of the ring with a suicide dive, and immediately gets back into the ring and then hits a Shiranui on Veer for a 2 count. Johnny disperses of Sangha with a dropkick to the floor, and then Breaker gets a big right hand on Veer. That leads Veer into a modified octopus stretch from Johnny Gargano, and Veer has to tap out. Braun Breaker and Johnny Gargano are celebrating their impressive victory in the ring, but then all of a sudden, Braun Breaker is attacking Johnny Gargano for no apparent reason, and even after a very well done match, Braun drops Johnny with a military press slam into a power slam, and then he wants to add salt into the wound on Gargano with the Steiner recliner. Braun Breaker has a lot of questions to answer as he walks out of the ring. We flash to earlier in the night where on NXT Level Up, NXT General Manager Shawn Michaels had to inform Pete Dunne that he will have to defend his NXT North American Championship in a 5-man ladder match at NXT Battleground. Pete was rather pissed about this information being dropped, but the Bruiserweight is not one to back down from a brawl, so Dunne tells the Heartbreak Kid, "Whoever you want to send, I'm gonna be the one walking out." Championship match to end off this episode of NXT, as number 1 contender to the NXT Women's Championship, Cora Jade, who won a fatal 4-way matchup to qualify 2 weeks ago, will take on the champion Tiffany Stratton. Tiff tosses Cora's forearm away, and then when Cora gets set in the corner, Tiffany hits a handspring splash. Cora leads Tiff away with the Hurricane Rana, and then takes her on a ride with a Rough Rider. She climbs to the second rope for a dropkick, but Stratton moves out of the way and drops Cora with an STO. Cora takes Stratton on a trip to Dr. Teeth, and then as she flies into the corner, she crash lands, and then Tiffany hits her with a Tiger Suplex, turning Cora inside out. The fight spills to the outside, and Tiff nails a roundhouse kick on Jade, and then when she throws her into the ring, she nails a springboard swanton on Cora, but Cora is not finished yet. Cora with Stratton perched up on the top rope, and Tiff stops Cora in her tracks and tosses her off the top. Tiffany gets down eventually, and Cora traps her in the corner and drops Tiff with sliced bread number 2, but Stratton gets the kick out. Tiff with a front dropkick, and then looks to deliver the prettiest moonsault ever, but there's no water in the pool. This is Cora's opportunity, and she hits Tiffany with the JDDT, but we don't have a new champion just yet. Cora, Jade, and Tiffany Stratton start exchanging roll-ups, and then when they get back to their feet, Tiffany drops Cora with a Finley roll. Tiffany looks down at her challenger and hits the corkscrew Stratton splash on Jade, but she breaks up her own pinfall. Tiff climbs to the second rope, and now it's PME time, and Cora Jade is not able to answer the count, and Stratton retains the NXT Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton starts walking out of the ring to her music and celebration, but out of nowhere, it's Blair Davenport! Blair drops Tiffany with a Falcon Arrow and then picks up her belt to close off NXT. Oh wait, we're not finished. We still have to do this week of SmackDown. We opened up this week with some women's action. Damage Control's Bayley goes one-on-one with Emma, who is still surviving after her failed attack on Shayna Baszler last week. Emma with a body slam on Bayley, and then Bayley slaps the taste out of the mouth of Emma, who then gets a drop with a German suplex. Emma and Bayley both try throwing some clotheslines, but Bayley misdirects Emma and turns her inside out with a lariat. Emma looks for the Emma driver, but Bayley stops her with a reverse DDT. Bayley slides in on Emma with a drop toe hold, and then with some more old school wrestling, Emma gets planted on her head with a pile driver, but it's only a 2 count. Bayley with a backstabber, and then she looks to do some damage with a bank statement, but Shayna Baszler starts marching down the ringside. The WWE Women's Champion Io Sky senses danger, and she goes flying through the ropes onto Shayna Baszler. Bayley cheers on Io, but Emma is able to counter a roll-up attempt on Bayley, and she gets the win. Backstage, John Cena and Rey Mysterio are catching up from old times, and John is still looking to add that 17th WWE Championship around his waist, and Rey Mysterio tells John that he still has more than enough time in him. Just make sure I get that rematch that you still owe me. Championship implications are up next, as the LWO's Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro will be going up against the Schism's Rick Fowler and Jagger Reed, who main evented last week's episode against John Cena and Cody Rhodes in a losing effort. The winners of this matchup will earn a WWE Tag Team Championship opportunity against the champions Imperium. Rip Fowler dissects Joaquin for a little bit until the tag is made and Wilde gets sent away with a double hip toss. Joaquin throws a super kick, but Jagger lands on an enziguri to the head. Cruz must like kill switch engage, because then he hits the end of Heartache on Reed and then sends him away with a Hurricane Rana. Reed tosses Toro to the floor and then propels himself with the suicide dive onto the announce table. Joaquin with a clothesline and atomic drop and then ends it with a splash. He then runs off the ropes again with a tidal wave and then drops Rip Fowler with a snapmare driver. This pin is broken up by Jagger Reed. Jagger with the tombstone facebuster on Joaquin Wilde, and then with some great balance from Cruz del Toro with a big springboard dropkick. Joaquin sends Jagger away with a Hurricane Rana, and then in the middle of the ring, Wilde maneuvers Rip's move and then hits the Wild Thing to the face. Reed breaks up the pin again. Both men are down and they both get the tag to their respective partners. And as Toro counters the strike, he comes in with the running enziguri and he defeats the Dyad for the LWO. The Latino World Order will now challenge for Imperium's WWE Tag Team Championships next week. Ricochet is backstage giving his thoughts during an interview with Kayla Braxton. Ricochet will be asked about what he's going to have to do to defeat Roman Reigns at Backlash, and even before we can get an answer from Ricochet, Roman Reigns appears out of nowhere and spears Ricochet. And then when we get back to the camera feed, Roman starts firing away on Ricochet, and definitely getting some payback on Ricochet for hurting his wise man last week during Ricochet's match with LA Knight. WWE Champion in a non-title matchup next, Sheamus will be the man to share the ring with our aforementioned Dutch champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley. Lashley lays Sheamus out with a lariat and then starts stomping a mud hole in the Celtic Warrior. Sheamus turns the tie quickly in a big jackknife powerbomb on the almighty. Bobby redeems himself with a big full Nelson slam, which leads to a military press, but then that gets him a punch to the face, and then a clothesline to the outside. Rich Holland starts getting excited as Sheamus drops the champion with a gutbuster. Sheamus would then soon follow up with white noise, but it's too loud as Lashley gets the kick out. Sheamus attempts the bro kick, and Lashley is able to prop Sheamus up with a press power slam. Bobby Lashley lifts him up into the Yokosuka cutter, but then Sheamus has enough to kick out. Sheamus starts getting his comeback, and the crowd starts to get behind him. Bobby Lashley stops Sheamus' clothesline in his tracks, and Lashley hits a spinning Uranagi on Sheamus for the counter. Lashley would then climb to the second rope and turn Sheamus absolutely inside out with a spear. Lashley ends the matchup after the Celtic Warrior will pass out to the Hurt Lock. Bronson Reed is sitting backstage, and as he is about to find out in mere moments who is going to be challenging for his United States Championship at Backlash, as you can see, the PC trainer and WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam is also backstage watching with Reed. 3 men enter, 1 walks out of SmackDown with the US Championship opportunity under their belt. As the ring general, the always exciting, the impressive cardiac kid Wes Lee, and the last man being him, also known as Carmelo Hayes. Right out the gate, Wes and Melo go straight for Gunther, but then a bunch of weirdness occurs where everyone is flying everywhere. Wesley rolls Gunther out with a snapmare and then gives him a dropkick, and then this leads to Hayes locking in an armbar on Wes. Gunther boots Melo in the face for a 2 count. Wes spikes Gunther again with a DDT, but then him and Melo go toe-to-toe in the ring. Gunther has a chair, and Melo just boots it right into his face. And then Gunther gives a boot right back. On the outside, Gunther hits a butterfly suplex on the floor, but doesn't see Wes Lee, who goes flying with the dive to the outside. Carmelo watches on as Gunther locks in a sleeper hold in on Wes, who was able to hold in for just a little longer. Melo kicks Gunther in the ass and then hits a codebreaker on Wes Lee, who isn't able to answer the count. It's now down to 2, and Melo immediately flies over the top rope, but Gunther avoids him. Back in the ring, Gunther is caught off guard with a clothesline into the corner and then a guillotine leg drop from Melo. Gunther with an elbow when Melo attempts nothing but net, but that just gets him planted with an Imperial driver. Gunther is angry and grabs a chair from the outside, and then Melo gives a snap power slam. Gunther has Carmelo in the driver's seat and locks in another sleeper hold, and then Melo doesn't have enough leverage and he has to tap out. Gunther will now challenge Bronson Reed for the United States Championship at Backlash.
I may be low right now, but I can